All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good Wednesday evening. I know a few people still getting into the meeting here, but we'll go ahead and get started. Uh, I am Patrick Brown. I'm the chair of LD11. I want to welcome you guys to our September LD meeting. Um, like I said, this is your first meeting. Welcome. Hope you learn a lot, you enjoy what we do, and you come back and become a regular. If this is just another meeting that ends in a day that ends in Y, then welcome back. And you kind of know how we do things here, so I'll just get into it and we'll get things going. So just want to remind you guys of the meeting norms with our meetings. Again, if you want your camera on during the meeting, that's cool. We just ask that if you're speaking or you're recognized to speak, if you're able to go ahead and turn your camera on. We like to see who we're talking to and things of that nature. One thing we please make sure you have those mics muted so that, of course, when you hear anything going on in the background or it throws off any of our speakers, anything like that. However, if you do have questions or whatnot, you can either drop it in the chat or use the raise hand function in Zoom, and, I'll recognize you to speak and things of that nature. Also, again, like I said, if you have comments, questions, anything like that, information to add for the good of the order, you can go ahead and drop in the chat. Our board will be, of course, monitoring that chat to either answer the question or they'll give me a heads up and I'll answer that question. Also, any of the links and things like that we're talking about, discussing, don't feel like you need to try and frantically write everything down or get like a screenshot of it or anything like that. Everything that you'll see of this meeting, as you know, this meeting is being recorded. It'll go on to the LD's YouTube page where you can go back and watch it or show it to your friends. Also, we will send out all the links and everything like that in our newsletter. So like I said, if you miss anything, there'll be several different ways to capture that information. And I know for many of y'all, you guys like to follow along at home to see what's going down with this meeting. So in order to do that, we have the agenda. We'll go ahead and drop that link in the chat in just a moment. But if you have, if you got like a computer and a phone, you're kind of, double fisting with your technology, you can use grab a little QR shot of that, and that way you can have the agenda in front of you. And again, like I said, we'll drop that in the chat in just a moment. All right, let's go ahead and get into our office reports, because we got a pretty packed meeting. So we'll, like I said, as this with our office reports, we're going to kind of just get into it here. First thing I want to talk about is a couple important things we have lined up as part of kind of our fall outreach plan. The first one is, of course, our annual Write Postcard Save Democracy. We have gotten new postcards, and one thing that we found out is that a lot of folks have moved into our legislative district, into our community. These are people who moved in, kind of during the 2022 cycle and after. So there are a lot of like Democrats that are new to LD11 that may not know that we're here. They don't know what we do, and they're looking for a way to flex their political muscles and get engaged with the work that we're doing. So what we're going to be doing for the remainder of the fall is we want to reach out to those folks, because many of those people might have moved next door. I know I've had a lot of new people moving to my neighborhood, and I've tried to introduce myself and get to know the people my block. So what we're going to be doing is we'll be distributing these postcards to our PCs so that you can reach out to folks who are in your neighborhood, on your block, and welcome them to what we do. Additionally, what we can provide you with are walk lists, so you can know exactly who the Democrats are in your precinct, in your area, so that so you're not kind of just knocking on random doors and hoping for the best. This brings me into the other thing, and I'm going to talk a little bit more in depth about this later in the meeting in new business. But I just want to remind everyone that we're going to be entering into the elected PC process. For many of you guys who are veteran PCs, that every 2 years, you have to be reelected as a PC to continue this role. Well, we've kind of are ramping up for that process again. What great thing about this coming down, as well as our fall activity with postcards, is that it gives you an opportunity to become to get your PC paperwork done and probably recruit a couple. I know our second vice chair, Michael's going to talk a little bit more about this in depth, but what I want to say when it comes to the PC process is this is really, like I said, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where, you know, a lot of the work gets done. And a lot of people, you know, we've all heard this in one form or another that, you know, what does the Democratic Party do, or how can I have, you know, any kind of say in what's going on? Being a precinct committee person is, you know, like I said, I'll say it's your ticket into the party, it's your ticket into the door of being a part of, you know, what we do to, you know, win elections, support our electeds, and really, you know, kind of push our agenda and support our community. So I know every cycle I always have a goal for PCs, elected PCs. And I know, I think last year, I think we had a goal of like, we want to have 50 elected PCs. This year, we're going to go for 60. We want to go for 60 elected PCs. That is going to be our goal for, you know, this go round. Now, if you're wondering kind of where we're at, we currently have about, I want to say 62 total PCs. 46 of those are elected PCs. The remaining are people who became appointed PCs, you know, after the election period. So what we want to do is we want to start, you know, our next, you know, go around with 60 elected PCs, and we can do it because one, I know everybody knows somebody who is within this space who can, you know, is interested in what we do, and all they need to do is just, you know, do the paperwork and become a PC. So I'm going to challenge each and every one of you guys to bring at least one new PC into LD11. Like I said, just one person. It could be your next door neighbor. It could be, you know, your son or daughter has turned 18. It could be, you know, that cousin is always saying, man, if I was a PC, this is what I would do. It could be your best friend. It could be a new friend that you made who's moved in a neighborhood. So we're going to be talking about this a lot. Again, I'm going to get into the details of what the process looks like, especially for those of you guys that this is the first time doing this. And so I'll do that a little bit later. And one last thing for me is, if you haven't heard, and I wanted to say this at the meeting because, you know, it happened like after our last meeting, but if you haven't heard, our very own Shams Abdul Samad was appointed as the MCDP secretary. So I want to definitely at this meeting go on the record to congratulate her. We're all proud of you. I don't know if Shams on the call or not, but I know because you're super busy, she might be here, but you're here. Thank you for, you know, stepping up. And we're really excited for, you know, what you're going to be bringing to the county party. So with that, that's all I got. I'm going to go ahead and move things over to our first vice chair, Dave Braun. And is Dave here? Because I don't know if I saw him come in or not. Okay, I am not seeing Dave. So we'll probably circle back around. Might be having some technical issues. So we'll go ahead and move on to our second vice chair.
Good evening, LD11 Democrats. This is Robert Branscombe, your Sergeant at Arms, but I'm filling in tonight for our second vice chair, Michael Butts. He wanted me to pass along that we're going to have another District 11 social hour. This is going to be on Thursday, September 28th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Dos Gordos Grill. For those of you who have attended in the past, you know, we had a good time. People come out and talk, get to see some faces instead of the Zoom. I know this is kind of the norm now, but it's always good to see fellow Democrats get together in fellowship. And on that note, we are thinking about moving to doing these events in people's homes or backyards. So if you're interested in hosting a social hour event, please let us know. Go to our page, info@southmountaindems.org, and let us know if you want to do that. And to mirror what our chair said, that we want you to bring someone along, the potential PC, because our goal this year is 60 PCs. So once again, Thursday, September 28th, from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Dos Gordos Grill. See you there. Back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Robert and Michael. All right, I do this plug every month. I'm gonna do the quick version. We're looking for a secretary. Now, here's the thing. You know, I am a big enough guy to admit when I've made a mistake. I owe someone a phone call, and I know I'm not gonna put you on blast, but I owe you a phone call. And this individual is interested in becoming secretary. So I'm doing it on the record in front of all the PCs. I'm going to call you tomorrow so we can talk about this. But if you are not that person and you're also interested in becoming secretary, please talk to me, and I will call you back as soon as I can. It was a weird week. So again, we don't want to be the Jackson 4. We want to be the Jackson 5. You know, we can't be the Beatles without a drummer. So, you know, our board, we need a secretary. So hopefully we will be a full set here very, very soon. All right, let's get into our financials. Our treasurer, Sadia, will go ahead and move things over to you.
Okay, so currently, as of August 31st, we have $3,483.68. So far, we raised $215, which came from mostly Act Blue recurring donors, and we spent only $191.83. As you can see, all of them came from Act Blue since we didn't have an in-person meeting. And as you can see with our expense report, most of them are like our typical monthly fees like Zoom, Act Blues. Oh, this okay. Yeah, there are some errors, like ignore the Juneteenth one. That was from a
My
previous
bad.
month.
I forgot to delete that. That's on me. Sorry.
Yeah. The only unique expenditure for August is the Union print shop for our postcard to reach new voters. So that's it. And we do encourage people to become a recurring donor because we're not funded by all big donors or by the national party or the state party. We rely on our local support and to help increase our outreach in our community and possibly find new voters. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sadia. And as always, we just to echo what Sadia says is like, the work that we do, the strategies, everything that we're doing, like I said, is funded by the kind donations of each and every one of you guys. So if you can find it in your heart and in your wallets to, help us out, we would much appreciate it. All right. Sergeant at Arms, you're up.
Okay, let me get my thing up here. So just on some state local news, Tom Horne recently sent a letter accusing Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs of removing his department's authority to administer emergency assistance to non-public school grants. This means that the Arizona Department of Education no longer has the ability to draw EANS funds from the U.S. Department of Education system to make payments under your contract with us, wrote Stephen Paulson, Chief Procurement Officer in Horne's department. But Governor Hobbs, in a letter on Friday to Horne, said it was the U.S. Department of Education that lifted the authority of Horne's agency to administer the funds after it failed to meet certain deadlines that moved the money over to her office, she said. Governor Hobbs said her Office of Strategic Planning and Budgeting can't disperse the money. However, because of Horne's office hasn't provided the necessary details what grants have been awarded. She is asking Horne to sign the agreement to have them work together to fulfill the grants. And paying the existing obligations is only part of the problem. The Department of Education said it has so far been unable to allocate the bulk of the funds because no one had applied for them. Now, with the governor taking control, there's no way for the agency to find out to give them out, Horne's office said. Time is running out, Governor Hobbs said. $6 million of the total will be taken back by the feds if not allocated by the end of the month. Horne's office pegs the amount immediately at the risk of about $13.9 million. Every word in the governor's letter is a lie, every governor's letter is a lie, and Horne said in his own statement about her letter to him. Nor does Horne intend to sign any agreement. Horne stated, due to her own actions, the governor now needs to take care of this problem and not pass the buck to the Department of Education. The money in question was specifically earmarked for non-public schools, with a focus on those with at least 20% of their students from low-income families said to be the most impacted by the pandemic. Only nonprofit schools existed prior to March 13th, 2020 are eligible. The schools also cannot have sought loans under the Paycheck Protection Program. Eligible expenses include everything from personal protection equipment and sanitation supplies to paying reasonable transportation costs and maintaining remote or hybrid instruction. Money can go directly to the schools or private contractors to provide the services. According to Governor Hobbs, Arizona got nearly $109 million with $22.3 million still unallocated. There is a September 30 deadline to allocate what Horne office says is nearly $14 million of that, $6 million according to Governor Hobbs, or forfeited. The balance has to be used by September 30th, 2024. And that's all I have for you this evening. Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Like it's a lot of good information going on. I remember the days when the superintendent of public instruction didn't scare small children. Hopefully we can get back to those days very, very soon. All right, so let me stop sharing for a moment so we can see everybody here. Okay, so we've got some special guests joining us tonight. First person who's going to be speaking to us, I think so y'all may have heard of her or met her before. She's kind of done a couple things. I've heard recently, but I'm just messing with you. This is Raquel Teran. Raquel, she's running for Congressional District 3, and this is to give you guys a little bit of background if you have not, had the pleasure of meeting Raquel. She's for more than 2 decades. She's been working to build civic and political movement to lift up voices of everyone in our community. Raquel was born in Douglas, Arizona, and raised in Agua Prieta, Sonora, on the street that divides the United States from Mexico. Growing up, she knew she wanted to go into public service and began that journey in 2001 with AmeriCorps. In 2006, Raquel saw anti-immigrant sentiment and legislation gaining momentum in Arizona. And because of her deep belief in equality, fairness, and family, she started organizing her community. Someone from, she says, someone from Mi Familia Vota put a clipboard in her hand, and she's been hasn't been without one since then. Of course, with her organizing background, helped her build a coalition that ousted Senator Russell Pierce, again, someone else who scared small children. And he was the author of the notorious SB 1070, the Show Me Your Papers law. That same coalition also came together again and rejected Joe Arpaio in 2016. If you haven't heard, he gains energy from the screams of young children. Raquel traded her megaphone for a microphone when she was elected to the Arizona House of Representatives in 2018, and in 2021 was appointed to the state Senate and also elected chair of the Arizona Democratic Party. Ghani Democrats historic wins in 2022 up and down the ticket. And I appreciate her putting up with me making fun of Democrats. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn the mic over to Raquel Teran.
Chair Brown, thank you so much. Thank you for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be with you all tonight, and thank you for the space. I am a neighbor. I am now a resident of Legislative District 11, so you're my chair, and thank you for the appointment to be a PC. I'm excited to be with you all tonight, and the chair already read a little bit about myself. I grew up in Agua Prieta and Douglas, and that was perfect pronunciation about Agua Prieta, Chair, I have to say. And I always share I share that with folks because I grew up on a street that divides the United States and Mexico. And I didn't understand how complex and how political that border was. For us, if the ball crossed the border, we could go through the fence and bring it back. But we also saw a lot of division too. And I would complain to my father, why are we not real Mexicans? Why were we born in the United States? And for him, the representation of this country was of opportunity, of fairness, equality. So as I grew up and I understood what the border meant, I decided to roll my sleeves and get engaged. After 9/11, we saw a rise of the anti-immigrant sentiment here in the state of Arizona. And I looked for an avenue of engagement. It was, yes, with Mi Familia Vota, who handed me a clipboard at a huge march that happened in support of comprehensive immigration reform against the Sensenbrenner bill. And that march, the theme was, today we march, tomorrow we vote. Honestly, I found my avenue of engagement and I took that to heart. So I'm so proud to be part of the movement of in the state of Arizona that has completely transform our state by saying si se puede. You know, when we had SB 1070 in 2010, people told us that we could not take out the sitting Senate President Russell Pierce, and we said si se puede. In 2016, Joe Arpaio ran again after he terrorized our community, after he was under the investigation of the Department of Justice, and we were able to oust him. And that is the type of attitude, the si se puede attitude, that I want to take to Congress, because for so many years, our communities have been left behind. You all are feeling it. I'm feeling it. When we go to the grocery store, it's hard to stretch our dollars. It's hard to put money in our gas, in our car. And I mean, gas in our car. And that really, like a lot of this that our families are living through right now is consequence of bad policy. And that includes the housing prices that we have and so many unsheltered people that we have in our communities. And we can go on and on of the consequences of bad policy. But I believe that all of us together can send a strong message and send somebody like me to Congress and take a Si Se Puede attitude. I'm a strong coalition builder without shying away from my progressive values. And I commit to you all that I'm going to continue my the same type of leadership I've had all this time in Arizona politics. And I'll take that to Congress and work with whoever I need to work with to make sure that we indeed work on good progressive policies that don't leave people behind and that make people's lives better, their reality is a lot better. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a community organizer, and I humbly ask for your support this election next year. It's 1 year from now, but I'm still asking for your support. With that, I'll turn it back to you, Chair Brown. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Raquel?
All right, I sped.
Okay. All right, I guess you, yeah. Oh, we do have a
Carmen.
question from Carmen. Go ahead.
Carmen,
Hey, Senator, it's Carmen.
we love you, Carmen. Thank you. What's up?
Yes, ma'am. So here's the question, because you was talking about housing. So is there going to be like some kind of way that you can tell the Congress people, you know, we got not only the housing crisis that needs to be addressed, but also this heat is a natural disaster. So with those two things being the biggest issue right now, and especially for Laveen, you know what I'm saying? Because Laveen is my heart, even though I don't stay there, but I keep Laveen on watch. Okay.
We need yeah.
What you
Go
gonna
ahead,
do? Yeah, what you gonna do?
Okay, Carmen, thank you for that question, Carmen, because there are a few bills that we are looking at, and one policy that I really love is a guaranteed housing for all that Representative Ilhan Omar introduced. And that means that everybody would have housing, right? Housing is a human right. Everybody should have a roof over their head. So going into Congress for making sure that we have sufficient public housing, affordable public housing, affordable housing, as well as ways for individuals to own their own house. That is a top priority. And we have great policy that we need to move forward in order for that to happen. And I am so grateful that you touch on the connection of housing and our extreme heat. I mean, look at this summer. It is the bills that everybody have had to pay for keeping their homes cool is they're just outrageous. So we need to remember that every single issue intersects. So working towards environmental protections is important to making sure that we have good housing. So I am willing to go into Congress and make sure that we're making the connection on how environmental justice and our housing prices intersect. And that's by taking the stories of our communities and how people are suffering at this time, or what people need at this time. Thanks, Carmen.
All right, great question, Raquel. Thank you for joining us in your capacity as a candidate. Of course, we're going to see you again because you're a PC, and you're going to be an elected
Of
PC
course.
out of LD11. And since you're running for office, your quota is not 1. You got to do like 5. So.
All right. Okay, we'll do 5, and we would love, Eddie and I would love to host. My husband Eddie also became an appointed PC, so we'd love to host one of the socials whenever there's the opportunity.
All right, we're gonna hold you to that too.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, next up as our next guest for tonight is Patty O'Neill. She is the interim MCDP chair. For those of you who don't know Patty, I'm going to go ahead and introduce her to the group. So Patty has served as a PC, chair of the former Legislative District 23. She served as vice chair of MCDP and is currently the interim chair of Maricopa County Democrats. During her tenure as chair of LD23, Patty worked with the board to develop a strategy to deploy 150 PCs and 600 volunteers, resulting in the county's highest Democratic turnout at 90.9% in 2020. She created a Fort McDowell Yavapai Nation board position so that those tribal nation members will always have a seat at the table. She's collaborated with LD24 to create the South Scottsdale Dem Club, resulting in 11% increase in Dem turnout in 2020. And as vice chair of MCDP, she was instrumental in organizing the first brunch fundraiser and Circle of Friends event. So as interim chair of MCDP, she is committed to use the same approach she's utilized in LD23 by establishing goals, strategies, and by using data to micro-target districts and precincts that have lost market share. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the mic over to Patty O'Neill.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Oh my goodness, it's hard to have a follow-up from Raquel Terran, but look at Raquel, I have red lipstick, right? Gracias, mija. Hello, my name is Patty O'Neill, and I've been here came to Arizona with my husband 35 years ago. I started my own business here as a meeting and event planner for Fortune 500 companies, just myself, little old me, and it had some really, really great years. And you know, John and I, my husband and I, have always been plugged in, but never really got involved in the politics until 2016. So by this time, my two children were one was out of high school and one was still in high school. And in 2016, you guys remember how crazy it was getting, and I just couldn't believe what was happening at the national stage. And you know, we were living, like Raquel said, you know, there was Arpaio and Russell Pierce, and I mean, I was hearing about it, but Raquel, thank you. I take my hat off to you. You were really, really active. But 2016 is what ignited me, when there were pundits that were talking about immigrants coming across the border like we were dirty, you know, and then, you know, God forbid there were going to be tacos at every stand. And you know what? That hit me to my core. I have children, and it was just hard. It was just really, really hard the hate was just too much, right? And so in September of 2016, I was flipping through social media, and I'd never heard of MCDP. And there was a promo piece of come get a taco and volunteer. I'm like, okay, I love tacos. So I went down and signed up, and I got my volunteer, and I got a call the very next day. And so I went out and I started making phone calls. I started knocking on doors and for different candidates. I think I was doing it like 3 or 4 times a week. I got my daughter involved too. It was energizing. I was putting my energy into something else instead of the anger. And so then election night, I'm down at the headquarter hotel, the Renaissance Hotel, and I saw 2 screens. One screen was local results, and there we saw Adrian Fontes winning recorder's office, right? And then Sheriff Paul Penzone beating out Arpaio. And I was like, I was elated. Our work was there was a result for all the work we were doing. But on the other screen, on the national level, Trump was beating Hillary. I couldn't believe it. But it was at that moment I realized at a local level, at a very local level, these wins, you know, Sheriff Paul Penzone and Adrian Fontes, were huge. We were going to be protected at a local level with our votes, and no longer will my family be stopped for because our brake lights were quote unquote broken. And that really did happen to my cousins were leaving my house. So that's not a fallacy. It did happen. So after the November 2016 and 2017, I started to get engaged. I started to learn about the political process here, the governance, and I became a PC. Later on, I ran for the board of our legislative district, and I became chair. And just like Patrick listed, and this was during COVID, and it was MCDP that supported me all the time. And so now in 2020, I ran as first vice chair. I've been the interim chair for 5 weeks. And so what have I been doing? What are my goals? My goals is to have that same type of support that MCDP gave me when I was chair of LD 23. So what I'm doing is reaching out to all our LD chairs and clubs too, because they're just as important, And so I've been to about half of the LD meetings and about more than a handful one-on-one meetings with LD chairs and committee chairs as well. Let's see. I have been planning fundraising. This beast requires money, right? So I have, and I call it a beast because it's very, very large. It's overwhelming sometimes, but it requires a lot of fundraising. And so I've already have our first Circle of Friends fundraising event on October 1st. We will have our fall fundraiser, the Champagne Brunch, on October 28th. We have been, there's a committee of party elders helping us identify candidates to run for every single office up and down the ballot. Yes, we may be the county party, and we are the 4th largest county in the United States, but every race counts. And I'm committed to that. And we have an executive director, John Ryder, who I've worked with in the past. And I'm ready to roll up my sleeves, as Raquel says, and get this job done. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Patty. Does anyone have any questions for Patty? All right. Well, Patty, thank you for joining us tonight. I know LD11, we're looking forward to working with MCDP and everything that, MCDP can, help, to the cause of getting Democrats elected up and down the ballot. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, LD11.
All right. So we got one more guest speaker. This is another person that you guys may have heard of. He's been doing some things. It's been in the news occasionally. This is Representative Ruben Gallego. So we go ahead. If you're not familiar with Representative Ruben Gallego, you really should be, and that's a whole other conversation. But if you're not, no judgments. Ruben Gallego is the son of an immigrant mother from Colombia and an immigrant father from Mexico. He was raised in Chicago by his mother along with his 3 sisters and worked for most of his young adult life, including summer jobs at a hot dog joint and a meat packing plant. After high school, Ruben went to Harvard, where he cleaned other students' bathrooms, worked at a meat packing plant, and was a reservist during college to afford school. He later used his money saved while fighting in Iraq to pay off the $15,000 he had left in debt. Ruben deployed to Iraq as a United States Marine infantryman in 2005, where his company saw some of the worst fighting and the heaviest casualties of the Iraq War, losing 22 Marines and a Navy corpsman in 8 months. Ruben's military service motivated him to seek public office, where he worked tirelessly to ensure that members of the military are never again sent into harm's way without a plan for caring for them when they return home. Ruben was elected to the Arizona House of Representatives in 2010. While serving there, he led the fight for Medicaid expansion in Arizona and securing in-state tuition for veterans. In 2014, Ruben resigned from the state house to run for Congress, where he won a 5-way primary with nearly half the vote. He has been reelected several times since and is now running for United States Senate in Arizona. Ruben lives in Phoenix with his wife, Sydney, and his son, Michael, and daughter, Isla, who I understand is very, very active as the chair of the Babies for Gallego. So without further ado, Mr. Congressman, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. First of all, let me do a mic check because I know these things are on and off all the time. You guys can hear me. Just give me confirmation.
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear.
Chairman Brown, thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. To be back at my LD. I am right now in Washington, D.C. I am joining you from my apartment here. I just put down the baby girl again to sleep. She is very much a Gallego. She fights sleep and likes to stay awake and keep fighting. Great to see our former chairwoman and amazing former leader of the Arizona Democratic Party on this call, Raquel Teran. I just want to say hello. My good friend and State Representative Marcelino Quiñones, I see you there. Hello, brother. Good to see you. I think I see my favorite commissioner and hopefully soon to be someday again Commissioner Sandra Kennedy on here too. And it really is just amazing to see so many really old friends that I have been involved in really, I would say, changing the face of Arizona when it comes to the Democratic and I would say political landscape. And this district, by the way, and thank you, Chairman, because you have really turned this around. The fact that you have so many PCs on here on a random night tells you what great leadership you have done. And listen, the way that South Phoenix goes is the way that the rest of the state goes. When we have massive turnout, we have excitement about Democrats. Obviously, we're always going to vote Democratic. When we have true excitement about Democrats, it really does create a real wave, or at least foretells a wave. And we definitely have seen since essentially 2018, when LD11, LD16, the old LD27 has turned out. It has really turned the state, and we are really the heart and soul, I would say, of both the working class of the state as well as the Democratic Party all together. And the most diverse, don't forget, is the most diverse district in the whole state. We have great representation from our Latino community. We have representation from our African American community. We have a massive LGBT community as well as our Native American community. And so we are a really true microcosm of the state. And so when we do well, that means the rest of the state does well. I've been very proud really been involved in this district for so long. First starting as a PC back in 2006, and then running from PC to vice chair there, from there being the state representative for the old LD16, eventually LD27, and from there becoming a member of Congress. And every time I drive to the district and every time I really plug into one of our LD meetings and see a lot of people that I have just been working for and with for so many years, it really brings a point of pride because, I get to talk about successes, but none of it was ever possible without so many people here that were supporting me. And I don't exaggerate that. For a good example, Commissioner Sandra Kennedy is one of the first politicians I met when I first got to Arizona, and she really mentored and talked to me about the politics of the state and taught a lot of us, and I think a lot more recognition I should go for it, taught a lot of us about the history and traditions and respect that I think was due to a lot of the people that had been worked for many years. Marcelino and I, for example, were canvassers together. Raquel Teran and I were protesters together. And I always joke that we were both attempted to get arrested by Sheriff Joe Arpaio. except I ran. And Raquel was a little more brave than I was. But right now I'm on a new mission, and the new mission is to have a U.S. senator for Arizona that's actually responsive to the people that live not just in LD11 but all over the state. The people that need someone to fight for them. The people that are representative of what I grew up in. A working class family with a mother that was raising 4 kids on her own, and just trying to assure that the American dream is possible for them. Because right now it's hard. And, I don't have to tell many of you here on the Zoom, because many of you are actually every day really talking to our neighbors, and they will tell you right now it is hard. And it's not just hard if you're poor. It's not just hard if you're a family that's making $30,000. Right now, it's hard if you're making a family that is making $80,000. People can't pay rent. People can't buy a home. People can barely afford to pay their car payments or buy a new car. They're worried about the present, and they're also worried about the future. They're worried about everything that they're willing to sacrifice right now, and yet they may not actually be able to give their kids an opportunity at the American dream, because even college is so expensive. And a lot of us work hard. A lot of us understand sacrifice. A lot of us will do a lot just to make sure that our kids will do better than us. But there is a sentiment out there where a lot of people feel that our kids are not going to do better than us. And that is a horrible feeling as a parent, especially someone like me who now has 2 kids and a new one. And the worst is you have politicians that just don't understand that, don't care about that, and don't want to fight for the people that actually need the help and support right now. And so, like many of you, I, believe that I was sending somebody to the Senate that understood the problems of working class America, that maybe understood the feelings that I had to do when I was young, trying to figure out whether I'm going to pay my electricity bill or pay my car payment, or that I was going to make the rent this month, or trying to figure out how to pay for other bills. I thought that's who I sent to the Senate. I thought I sent someone to the Senate who understood how important the Voting Rights Act is. I thought I sent someone to the Senate who understood that people such as pharma and hedge fund managers and Wall Street managers didn't need someone else helping them out and supporting them. It's the people that don't have power, that don't have lobbyists, that are more focused on the 9 to 5 every day than to what's happening in Washington, D.C. They need somebody caring for them. So I made a mistake. I was wrong. I thought that that's who I sent when I helped Kyrsten Sinema get elected. And 6 years later, I decided that I made a mistake, and it's time to change who's in charge right now. And we have 6 years of a senator that could potentially be fighting for working class people, that could be fighting to make sure that we have a child tax credit. It's sad to say that we have a senator that was more worried about the people that were hedge fund managers keeping their tax loophole than our working families having a child tax credit, which, by the way, reduced childhood poverty in our district by 60%. But she was willing to throw down for the people that don't need protection, but instead of for those that actually want and need it now. This is a recurring problem where and it's not just Senator Sinema, it's a lot of people, both Democrats and Republicans, that end up fighting for the rich and for the powerful, the people that already have every advantage in the world, and the people that actually need just a little hand holding, whether it is trying to get them to the next paycheck, whether it is trying to get them to make sure that they have a safe and secure retirement. They don't have that advocate in Washington, D.C. And I will continue to be that advocate, because I just can't let go of who I was growing up. I'm the person that worked every job possible to help out my family, whether it was working at the meatpacking factory, whether it was working as a laborer, whether it was working at the restaurants, serving food, cooking food, whatever it is. I understand the dignity of work. I understand the dignity of actually bringing home a paycheck to help your family, but I also understand the stress of working as hard as you can and still not being able to make it. And unfortunately, there's just so many Arizonans in this state that are now dealing with that reality. And there's so many politicians that just don't give a damn about it. So I want to be that senator for you. I'm going to be the person that thinks about the Arizonan that calculates their wealth by how many hours they work. Right? I'm going to be that Arizonan that understands, and that sort of understands that it's great to work, but it's awful to work if you don't understand, if you can't give your family a safe and secure future. I want to be the person that helps you bring the dignity of work back to your family, that you can actually, number one, survive, thrive, and be able to actually like live fulfilling lives. There's nothing that says that we have to keep working just to survive. That's a very recent thing. Many of us people about my age or younger remember the times where working class people had homes, had retirements, had opportunities to take vacation, and didn't feel like every day they were on the knife's edge, that they were not going to be able to succeed economically. So we can get back there. We have made an economic choice as a country to put ourselves in the situation where we make our working families feel like they're in poverty and actually live in poverty. We don't have to do that. And the reason we don't have to do that is because you have to elect real people who actually want to go there, work for working class people, and actually bring their standard of living up. Because guess what? As an American, you deserve that. So thank you, Chairman, for having me. I don't know if you wanted me to take any questions. I don't want to take up any of your time, but I always do offer questions. I feel one of the things that I dislike about, many things I dislike about how Sinema has conducted herself as a senator is that she doesn't hold herself accountable to her bosses. And you guys are my bosses. And even though we may not agree 110%, most of the time, I will always make sure that you have an opportunity to talk to me. You always have an opportunity to question me, and we may not agree all the time, but you will know that I am here. I will listen to you, and I will at least respect your opinion, and we can always keep working forward together. So, Chairman, up to you. I can take one or two questions.
Congressman,
Let me just check on the
Yeah.
time. Yes, I can take one or two questions before.
Okay, so I know
get
Carmen won't let me make it out the meeting without the opportunity to ask the question. So Carmen, I see your hand up. Why don't you go ahead and ask your question?
Let me just turn up the volume. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was typing it in the chat because I'm facing this now with my children because I feel like their education is more important than the job. But there's a lot of teens out here that are working when their focus should be education on a job instead of working a job to keep the food on the table and the lights on. But here's the thing that bothers me is when they do work and everything, when it comes to a contract, because it's funny, they can sit there, file tax, apply for jobs and stuff. But then when it comes down to housing for themselves and other contracts like that, they can't enter contracts. So my question to you is, what are you going to do to tell Congress, look, it's time to change that, because either they need to wait till they're 18 to go to work, or honor contract signing at employment age, because that's disturbing to me. I don't like that.
Look, Carmen, I don't disagree. Like, I had to go to work to support my family. And it's interesting, like, growing up working class and poor, going to college, I met people that also went to work, and they went to work for an experience. I went to work to give my family the opportunity to at least be able to make it, right? So I paid the utilities, paid the grocery bills, whatever I did it to help out. That's not the situation any American should be in. I think what we have the opportunity, for example, number one, child tax credit, Carmen. When we had the child tax credit for 6 months, childhood poverty dropped 60% in Arizona. it nearly went to half, and actually now has climbed up, unfortunately, to about 12%. And because we chose that. The child tax credit costs about $60 billion a year, which is nothing. There's plenty of places to find that money, and we should do that. That money should go to families for them to be able to thrive, to survive, and to be able to grow. And a job during the summer, or maybe a couple hours after school, should be an experience, not a requirement to survive, right? You should not be putting that pressure on these kids, right? These are kids, for them to be providing for their families. First of all, it's horrible for the kids, and it's horrible for the parents that they have to rely on their kids to even be able to be part of that. That's not the way it should be. That's not the way it's always been. This is something like somehow we just kind of accepted, like, oh, this is part of America now. No, that's not how it's always been, right? The fact that we still are having so many Americans that are out there fighting, they're living off the minimum wage, if you call it living, is ridiculous. If you work 40 hours, you should be able to support yourself and your family. The fact that we don't do that, it's not a minimum wage, I mean, it's a poverty wage. And that's a choice that us as elected officials have made. The fact that the national minimum wage is still $7.25, that we don't peg it to inflation is ridiculous. We peg, as I'm a veteran, I receive VA disabilities. Every year I get a disability, or every month I get a disability paycheck. It's pegged to inflation. Social Security is pegged to inflation. But if you work, and you work the minimum wage or anywhere near the minimum wage, your wage is not increased by inflation. So everyone else that in this country, in the economy, basically reacts to inflation, except for the people that are the most vulnerable, the people that work hourly, right? That is a choice that we made as a country. We have literally said that we are willing to make millions of people poor. And for what? It's not getting us anything. And certainly definitely not helping these young kids. So I want kids to work jobs for growth, for experience. I don't want them to be working it so that way they can be helping keep the lights on their family, on their family's home, or to pay a bill. And the fact that we're allowing that to happen, again, are true economic choices that our policymakers have made.
All right, Congressman, as always, it's a pleasure. Thank you for taking some time out
Thank you,
to
Chairman Brown. I
come
appreciate
visit
it.
in South Phoenix.
I still live, you guys, I still live on 6th Street and Baseline. Like, if you guys are out at the Target on 24th Street, or the Fry's out there, and the Ross, is my three favorite spots there. You'll run into me. If not, you'll definitely catch me at the Starbucks at some point too. So thank you so much, everyone. And really, again, so impressive, Chairman Brown, that you got so many people here. This is a real LD that is really leading the state when it comes to the Democratic Party. And I think, Chairman Brown, I wasn't able to fully stay on last time, but I did tell one of my staff to make sure you guys knew that we would be a sponsor for the social that you wanted to throw. So make sure to contact us. And if obviously I can't make it there, we will still obviously be sponsors there. I don't know if we were thinking about maybe go to Gallagher's, Ponchos. Something like that would be great. Silver Pony, they don't really take credit cards yet, so that might be a little iffy. But
I'll they can use the money because the pony had a little accident with the weather. But what I'll do is I'll reach out to your staff and we'll get the details all sorted.
Okay, give me a heads up. Love to see y'all guys. Thank you again, and let's go win, Democrats.
All right, thank you.
Adios.
All right, everybody. So we're kind of getting to the latter half of the meeting. So what I will move into now, I see a couple of our electeds in the audience here. So I see Representative Quinones. I'll go ahead and recognize him. What's going on with the state ledge? What can we expect and for this upcoming session?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, LD11. It is wonderful to be in the room where it happens. I'm really excited about today for a couple of reasons. First of all, we've heard from incredible community advocates, community supporters, and folks that are interested in really shaping what Arizona looks like. I'm particularly excited by the fact that we've got a Maricopa chair in the room and visiting LD 11. That says a lot about the impact that LD 11 can have in our county. So thank you, Chair Patty O'Neill, for stopping by. We are off session right now, which means that between now and the second week of January, what most of us are doing is we are engaging with constituents. We are meeting with a number of individuals so that we can see which laws we are going to be introducing at the ledge. On a personal note, last month we heard from Ms. Sarah Lagori, who talked about the housing shortage. And I talked to you about the two bills that I dropped this past session to address that issue. I will be dropping those bills again. One of them is to create a first-time homebuyer program where the state, the counties, the cities, and the individual all chip in so that we can create homeowners, and then that way we can lessen the number of units that are being rented right now. And then additionally, I will also be introducing legislation to expand what's called the Light Tech program. And Light Tech is low-income housing tax credits. So both of those are the solutions that really address the housing crisis from a standpoint of activities and initiatives that are already taking place. I've also met with a couple of constituents to address any issues. Sometimes you might need some support with the department, and then that's where I can connect you to the liaison or the individual from the department. So as always, I'll include my contact information in here. And then lastly, former leader Bolding was often promoting something called the International Jazz Day at the Capitol. Doc Jones from our LD has reached out to me. I will be bringing that event to the Capitol. So that will happen sometime in April. And I'll make sure that all of you are aware of that so we can have a big showing of LD 11 at the Capitol and take in the arts and some jazz. So that's it. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you, Representative. Okay, see any other electeds? I see our Constable Kennedy. Do you have anything do you want to report out or share with the LD?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Forgive me, I'm in the middle of bath time with my littles. We are on the brink of a housing crisis. The numbers of evictions have gone up. And unfortunately, I can tell you that the COVID monies are about to run out in the next few months. If you know anybody that is struggling with paying their rent, have them reach out as soon as they know that they're going to be late with those monies. There are monies still there, and the process does take some time. Please take advantage of the resources that are still available to us in a timely manner so that you can protect your housing. If you have any questions, I'll leave my info in the chat. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Constable. Okay. We've got one last bit of business here, and I'm thinking of the screen back. Oh, there we go. All right. So as you guys know, we did have a state party convention that took place last Saturday. If you were able to attend, then some of this information will be reviewed. But if you were not able to attend, I'm going to take a protracted meeting and condense it down to about a 30-second update. So, all right. So basically what was on the agenda for the state party meetings, we had several different resolutions. So if you're not familiar with what the resolutions are, typically resolutions often take place of reaffirming our democratic values, but often taking that and, attaching to a very specific issue or, a thing of that nature. So all those resolutions, they did pass, and pretty much kind of what came out of that is one was the creation of a redistricting committee. One thing that we learned from the past redistricting is that, at least as a Democratic Party, we could have, been a little bit stronger in how, we kind of went into this. I know like some of y'all attended many of the redistricting hearings. I went to a lot of them. And one thing I saw that was very, very common is that the Republicans were very, very organized. When I attended one in downtown Phoenix, it was supposed to be for South Phoenix. like the Republicans had like scripts. They like were handing out like, this is what you're gonna say, what you're gonna talk about. They were that like organized. Additionally, there was a lot of question about, the chair of the redistricting commission, because that's supposed to be an independent, and that person, was an independent-ish. But again, this committee's job will be to prepare us for the next, redistricting, which will be here before we know it. And so that we can make sure that our maps, our LDs, our congressional districts are created fairly and within, of course, the actual realm of the redistricting law. So that happened. Of course, one of the resolutions was supporting the integrity of Arizona's ballot processing system. I think that's a kind of a no-brainer. Additionally, passed a 21st Century Economic Bill of Rights. A lot of things that Congressman Gallego mentioned when he spoke, a lot of that went into that. And then, of course, Patience Over Profits Pledge was a resolution that passed. We also did some bylaw amendments that passed as well. The first one was, of course, the creation of a state convention. Now, this one's a kind of a complicated process. It's not really complicated, but it requires a little bit more explanation. I apologize. I'm going to give a very brief just because of time. But one of the challenges that the state party has is that the DNC requires that there be there's an equity rule, making sure that, male, female representation is equitable within the make of the state party. And that's something that, we have been kind of struggling with a little bit with the state party of kind of maintaining that. And what's kind of ironic is that it's actually kind of, most people would say, oh, there are too many guys? Like, no, it's actually the opposite. And so one of the issues is that because we're out of compliance, that could impact how we see delegates at the upcoming national convention. That, of course, would not be good. So one of the solutions was to create a state convention, which it would allow the state party, the state chair, to bring in additional members as part of like the state party to address that inequity. And so ultimately what it does, it expands it out to county chairs, LD chairs to be part of this so that we can make that equity rule. Again, if you have a lot of questions about it, I'd be happy to kind of talk through more of the details, but we'll drop in the chat like the link where you can actually read all this stuff yourself. It's posted on the website. Let's see, the only other thing that came up is that there was an opening for senior vice chair. And so a lady from Tucson by the name of Bonnie Heidler won that election. So she's now the senior vice chair at EDP. And of course, we'll have another state convention, which will be January 27th of 2024. So of course, more information to come with that. Oh, getting ahead of myself here. Okay, last bit of business here, and then we'll move over to announcements. As promised, I wanted to talk, and I'm going to talk very briefly about this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but as you guys know, that there's a process to become an elected PC. Oops, sure, I'm sharing. All right, so there is a process to become an elected PC. Before I get into this, I'm going to kind of give the 30,000-foot overview of this information. If you are a current PC, if you're elected, if appointed, whatever, start checking your mailbox, because we're going to be sending out probably the next like 2 weeks. We're going to be sending out postcards. They're going to have information. This information is going to be very, very important because it's going to, one, go into the detail of getting reelected as a PC. Or if you're new to this, like I said, we'll be sharing this information just with everybody who's interested. But especially for PCs, this will go into the details of what you need to do. It will also link you to the documents you will need to become a PC. And we even like have a video training so that you can fast forward my talking and all this type of stuff so that you can get all the information. If you guys did this process 2 years ago, it's basically what we did 2 years ago, just with better technology and a better mic for me. All right, so eligibility is pretty straightforward. To be eligible to be a PC, you got to be a registered Democrat in LD11. Straightforward stuff. There are two ways to become an elected PC. The first one is submitting a nominating petition. Basically what you do, the nominating petition is 10 valid signatures of registered Democrats living in your precinct. And so basically you gotta, get those signatures. I mean, you can do it in an afternoon, just like, walk around the block, especially if you know your neighbors, you can get it knocked out like, probably like in 2 hours or less. Along with that, there's a nominating paper that you'll need, of course, to fill out. I'm going to show you both what those look like if this is a new process. Another option, and I know some people say, well, hey, I'm not able to, maybe knock on doors or things like that, but I want to be a PC. Is this the only way to do that? Another option is to become a write-in PC. This is basically a document that you would fill out to be a write-in candidate. This is not going to be available until April. So basically, it'll be kind of after the due date for the nominating petition. This becomes available, but this is another option for someone to become an elected PC. Some people, like I said, I'm an advocate of getting to know your neighbors to kind of do the petition thing. However, I also believe that there's a no wrong door approach to this type of work and being a part of becoming a PC. So however you do it because it's going to just make us a stronger party, a stronger organization. Okay, I'm going to skip around here. Actually, I probably should go over this. So one question always comes up, and I will answer this one is, okay, you're already a PC. Do you have to do this, remain a PC? Yes. That's a simple answer. Yes. And the reason why is because our PC statuses are 2-year cycle. So basically, if you do not do anything, if you don't do the petition or write-in or anything like that, your position will shut down, or your term would end on October 1st, 2024. Now, if you're saying, oh, well, hey, Patrick, you just appointed me. Well, guess what? Can't appoint you until like the next year. Now, there's a reason why we want elected PCs, and this is why it's really important. The big one is that if there's ever a situation where, one of our members of the state legislature has to leave office, maybe, they run for higher office or, something of that nature. If we have fewer than 30 PCs, we are not able to be a part of the process to nominate a potential replacement. If LDs have less than 30 members, when that happens, then basically it's kind of the board of supervisors kind of basically takes over the process. It's happened in other LDs. We have been lucky that it's never happened in either the former LD 27 or, LD 11, and we want to keep that going. But the thing is not simply about being the minimum. Remember, 60, that is the magic number. Okay. So I want to go over the forms here real quick so you kind of just see what they look like. Again, the full training will get into all the kind of minutia. And as always, we're here to help you with this process. This is actually a really, really simple process, but there are some important steps to that. So one of the documents that is available now that you'll need is the petition form. So the petition form looks like this. If you didn't know, Professor X lives in LD 11. He wants to be a PC. So if y'all don't know Marvel Comics, then I can't help you on that one. But anyway, again, basically what you need to do is fill out your information. Of course, you'll put in your precinct, your the name that I call it, put your government name on here. And then this is the part that's really important, is the signatures. You'll need to get, of course, a registered Democrat signature. They'll need to print their name, address, their actual residence, and the date they signed. Once you get 10, you move over to the reverse side of this document. So again, you just need to print your name. You'll put the county, Maricopa. Now the second part gets kind of interesting. So if you yourself are the one who's going out and collecting your signatures, then you're going to go ahead and fill all this stuff out and you're good. But let's say, for example, you have an 18-year-old son, daughter, grandson, niece, nephew, who's just doing you a solid by going out and getting your petitions. Now, keep in mind, notice the key word is 18. They have to be 18 to go out and collect these signatures. If they do that for you, or an individual who is qualified to do that for you, then their name needs to appear on the back of this. So that's an important kind of difference. And again, like let's say if it's a husband, wife, and maybe like the husband says, hey, honey, I'll go get you taken care of. Then guess what? If he gets his signatures, he'll fill it out. But if he's getting it for, the wife, then he will then also fill that out. If you have questions, of course, always, reach out. Now, the other document that is now available and is also important is the nominating paper. We got to have both of these together. This basically is going to be this is if in the event that we have the embarrassment of riches and we have what's called a competitive PC election. So let's say that you have 10 slots in your precinct and like 20 folks want to be PCs. Guess what? You will appear on the ballot and people get to vote. And so this nominating paper is, of course, what will go on the ballot if there is a competitive election in your precinct, but also the certificate you get, showing that you are an elected PC. They're going to use this as well to generate that document. So of course, you'll just need to fill that out as well. Like I said, read through everything. If you've done this, this is your first time doing it, and it's like your 100th time, make sure you read it because there's always a little bit of differences when they update these documents every 2 years. One thing that's important, please do not staple the documents together, because the thing is I found out that our friends at the county recorder's office hate when you do that, because they need to go through these documents and do just some basic verification. And when I've, dropped them off for people, to help out and they're stapled, they get mad at me, and, and I don't want them to be mad at me. So please do not staple them together. Use a paperclip. We're going to have a couple of rolling deadlines for when to turn in the forms. The first big deadline is going to be February of 2024. You don't have to wait. It's like homework. You don't have to wait to do it, at the last minute. You can start now. As soon as you get this stuff, you can start now and start getting those signatures. We're going to obviously have papers and stuff at the upcoming social hour. Anytime we all get together in person, we'll have them available. Of course, you can print them off, on your home printer. You don't have to get anything notarized or anything like that. So we're gonna make it as easy as possible for you to get your signature so you can become a PC. And if you elect to go the write-in route, we're gonna help you do that as well, because one, it's important for the community, it's important for the work that we do, and we want each and every one of you guys who are a PC to come back. And again, except for Raquel, she's got to do 5. We want everybody to bring in at least one new PC. All right. Any questions on this? Like I said, I gave you guys a speed round. We're going to talk about this. And of course, we've got a really nice training that we put together that, you guys can watch, asynchronously for all the details that I didn't quite get into. All right. I'm not hearing any questions. So, I see one. So how many PC petition forms can I sign for my fellow PCs? You can sign as many as you want, as long as they're in your precinct. So Onesimus, to answer your question, is if, like I said, if there are 10 people, then you can sign 10 petitions. So that's really what the limit is. So it's 10 open spots. You can sign 10 petitions and you're good. You can also sign your own. Now, some people don't realize that you can be one of the signatures on your petition. So you can sign for yourself. So then you only got to get 9. All right. So that is all that we have on the agenda for the night. What I want to do now is just open it up to announcements. Please keep your announcements to 1 minute or less. Our Sergeant at Arms is quick on the trigger with the mute button. So if you go over 1 minute, he will mute you. So I'll go ahead and open the floor up for any announcements. Okay, announcements going once. Announcements going twice.
Hello, Chair Brown.
All right, Tanisha, there you go.
Hi, it's Tanisha. I actually sent you a direct message because I didn't want to interrupt anyone. I would love to serve as secretary because I know you've been filling that, asking for that call for quite a bit. I just want to meet with you either virtually or in person to see what the expectations are, because I do have a day job and I want to make sure there's no conflict of interest and that I can actually support LD 11 in that space.
All right, I will give you a call. If I don't give you a call tomorrow, I'll probably be tomorrow, but I'll give you a call before the week is out. And remember, everybody's hearing me, so she can go like, you didn't call me like you said you would. So yeah, I see the representative. He's like, say, I got you.
Okay.
And he's gonna end my Spanish lessons if I don't call you back. So
no worries. Thank you.
Any other questions? Or I'm sorry, any other announcements? Okay, everybody. Thank you again for joining us. As Congressman Gallego said, it's you know, it's a random Wednesday night. You could be anywhere, you could be watching Netflix, but you took some time out to be informed, be engaged, and be a part of the work that we do here in LD11. Again, if you missed any information that we discussed, you can check it out. We'll have it up on our YouTube page. Also, if you're not getting our newsletter, you know, reach out to us, info@southmountaindems.org. Shoot us an email. We'll make sure you get on our mailing list, and you'll get our newsletter where all this information will be held. One other final thing, COVID's making a nasty comeback, so please be safe. Make sure, you know, if you haven't gotten your booster or whatnot, you get that. You know, also, you know, we're gonna be in flu season before we know it. So make sure you're all taking care of yourselves. And we'll see you on the 28th for our social hour. That'll be a great opportunity to get some petition signatures for a lot of different things. So with that being said, y'all have a good night, and we will see you next time.